Hello and welcome to this open source hangout. Today we're going to be working on the Fintegrate Migri Assistant, which is an artificial intelligence assistant for immigrants to Finland. Our project architecture currently consists of a crawler that takes data and information from the Migri website, and then we have a parser that is part of this pipeline that extracts the content from the crawled web pages. It's a markdown, and we vectorize that, and then we can use that as a retrieval augmented generation source in a personal assistant chatbot. Today I'd like to look at this parser a little bit. We have a base parser, class, abstract base class, and then a specific parser for the Migri site. And the idea here is that we're going to use these XPath kind of arguments to extract the content. And there's so much sort of imperative code here. Try this, try that. If not that, then this. It's going to lead to, I think, a lot of duplication and complexity and inconsistencies when we start adding other parsers. So I'd like to step back and make the parser more generic and configurable via some kind of declarative structure. It could be data classes or Pydantic models or YAML, JSON, something that has essentially these XPaths for the content section. And sometimes sites can have multiple page structures, just within the same website. And as a quick aside, some websites don't render the content on the server. A lot of it increasingly are rendering in the client in a dynamic way, which is more client heavy. So we may need to switch our approach. We're gonna, or at least have a hybrid approach for those types of sites. But I believe this crawler actually just gets the rendered output and saves it to a data directory. But I'm not sure if actually it's executing the JavaScript, which we would need a different type of crawler for that. So we'll come back to that. We would use, right now we're using just a crawling library called Scrapey, and it's making HTTP requests. Scrapey may or may not execute the JavaScript. Dynamically loaded content. Some web pages show the desired data when you load them in a web browser. However, when you download them using Scrapey, you cannot reach the desired data using selectors. When this happens, the recommended approach is to find the data source and extract data from it. Ah, interesting. If you fail to do that, you can nonetheless access the desired data through the DOM from your web browser using a headless browser. So that's the approach I was thinking we would need to adopt for some websites. The Migri website doesn't seem to have this problem. This is just to illustrate. We want a flexible architecture and declarative configuration so that we can handle different scenarios, different XPaths for statically server rendered content, and switching to a headless browser for certain use cases. So today's session is just going to set the foundation for that and kind of nip this in the bud, where we have all this imperative logic for parsing. It's not a whole lot, but this is the essence, these selectors. All right, so I'm in a branch, so everything we do can be rolled back. That's a good start. we're not going to be working with the Gradio app, but I will open the parser. And we're going to use Copilot a bit for this, quite a bit. And I'm also researching some subsequent tasks for an agent-based workflow that we can integrate in the closer to the user interface, closer to the person that's needing to navigate this process of integrating and naturalizing into the Finland and the Finnish culture. But today is a data day. We're looking at the data and parsing it from just the Migri. All right, so let's see how we will use Copilot for this. We've got a new chat here. And I think it's defaulting to ask mode, and I think that's a good idea. In fact, sometimes I even like to step back, even though we have Claude 3.7 here in the user interface, sometimes I like to just have a chat with Claude away from the code, giving it the code, but get different results. It's not as integrated, so that it's trade-offs, but and I actually made a comment here. And the code is going to be important context here. So here's our base parser. And the Migri parser as by way of example. And I'll use extended thinking here. I don't know if we need to use a web search, but let's go with that 3.7 sonnet. Let's see what we get. Right now I'm just at the brainstorming phase. Before we dive into code, I want to think about it a little bit. Based on the code you've shared, I can see that your current approach uses site-specific subclasses like Migri parser that primarily differ in their XPath selectors. You're right that moving configuration-based approach would simplify adding new sites without requiring new code. Here's a proposed architecture for a universal configurable parser. Structured configuration with Pydantics. Okay, it is suggesting Pydantic. Which gives us kind of runtime validation and type checking while we're developing. This is the key. I want the data to be validated sort of at development time, you could say. So by MyPy, for example. Content selector, so that's a singular, and it should have multiple content selectors. Interesting. Wow. And so in this case, the YAML configuration, it would be a little harder to validate at development time, but the Pydantic model violation against this XML or YAML, I'm sorry. Interesting. Interesting. And we have our HTML to text config, so we're getting a little bit. Oh, we have coupling between our library. XPath though is a kind of a universal selector format, and I'm sure multiple libraries adapt that. HTML to text though is a specific library that we're using. Interesting. And we have a utility. Extensibility, maintainability, consistency, validation, and flexibility. Pydantic ensures configuration of valid and properly typed, so it's at runtime validation though. All right, this is pretty cool. And we could improve the structuring and getting more explicit data types through the Pydantic models. Interesting. Universal parser. Works with any website through configurations, parser uses site specific. Very nice. Okay, so now let's try this same prompt just to see what Claude 3.7 does directly in the code browser editor. If I pass the Migri parser and base parser and then give it the same prompt, put it in agent mode and let it go. I should have actually probably done the ask in the chat too, because then the agent, when you switch over, can use the conversation. I'll suggest a redesigned approach that uses a unified parser with site-specific configuration. This will make your system more maintainable and easier to extend for new websites without writing new parser subclasses. Let me analyze the current architecture first to better understand how they approach the redesign. So it's searching. I gave it the parsers, but it's searched in any case. It's finding the CLI, so this is good. And the two parsers and some information in our contributing guide, because we want to make sure that we have documentation for developers as well as users. I didn't get the README. So let me examine the Migri parser implementation, understand what site-specific configuration it has. It's reading the file in chunks. Now let's think about how to design a configuration-based approach for our parser. I'll create a universal parser that can be configured through a structured configuration. Proposal. Okay, and this is just going to use our... Oh, it's Pydantic, so it's going to have to use Pydantic for type safety and validation. I guess that's the de facto way. Data classes are not, powerful enough compared with Pydantic. HTML to markdown config. So yeah, here actually we have a better suggestion. It's going to give us a Pydantic data model for that. Site parser config, title selectors, content selectors, fallback to body pool. Interesting. Markdown config. Parser config. Universal parser implementation. The unified parser will replace the current subclass implementation. Universal parser is based on the base parser, so it's just going to implement this abstract specification. And let me just actually make sure that I'm able to keep an eye on multi-chat. Good. All right, so we're extending the base parser. It has a pretty good interface. Load site config, though, is now going to take path. And I asked it what the architecture should be, so it's showing me in chat instead of implementing this directly. Very cool. I forgot to start my chat stuff earlier in the stream. Some utility functions as well. Okay. So now we're in agent mode, so I'm going to ask it to start the implementation. Let me just double check here. We have this MCP server context 7. So we're going to use the latest Pydantic syntax and semantics. I'll help you implement a new configuration-driven parser architecture. Let's start by getting the latest documentation for Pydantic. So just say always allow. And it's searching for models and validation. So this is pretty cool. So it got the library ID Pydantic from this request, and now it's actually getting some response. And the cool thing about context 7 is it has code examples. So now it knows to use UV because I've added this in our Copilot instructions here under how we use packages. And this is the nice thing about agent mode. It's able to run these commands, accessing the terminal. Okay, I guess we had added Pydantic. Now it should be, is it a top level dependency or was it previously? No, there it is. All right, so now we're getting our UV lock changed as well. And it's totally implementing a new file in our parsers directory. So the config models, and these are just deprecated. Use dict instead, that makes sense. We'll fix those. Deprecation. I have those instructions, I think, in my... Let's see. This is what is a little bit out of date. Now wants to make a directory. So these Copilot instructions get passed to the model, the agent, or chat assistant or editor, depending which mode it is. I think on every request that I make, so it's probably, or every command it runs, one of the two, I'm not sure. But that's just how we incrementally improve code style and things like that, and tailor it to the project. Okay, so now we do have this Migrate Assistant config directory, and we also, it's going to clash. One of the problems though, maybe if it makes it a module, then we're gonna have a problem. Parser configs is cool. Me agree. Ha! And it's already making a good suggestion to a Palavelut. And Kella, this is on point. Now these are probably wrong, but you know, these are examples. But that's essentially where we're headed with the project and why we're making this configuration, or configurable at least, through like a declarative structure, so we can incorporate information from multiple websites that immigrants typically need to interact with in the course of our immigrant journey, from even planning before we arrive to initial arrival, first steps in integrating and finding work or studies, finding community, and even long-term goals like getting permanent residency or citizenship. So it's quite a long journey, and there's a lot of resources, and they're not all government resources like Migri. So we've been compiling some additional resources, and I need to set up a website where we can actually just start documenting some of this knowledge. We're trying also to not compete with existing websites like Enter Finland. We want to be real clear, have a boundary, but distinguish ourselves and align with what they're already doing and offer some supplementary information. I'll be right back. I'm going to make some tea or something. Okay, we got some tea brewing. It's a big task I have to do, so it needs to check in and make sure it wants to keep iterating, not wasting resources. Makes sense. So, did it run rough? I told it about rough. And I don't see many squiggles now. There's a couple things we'll get at. So yeah, it didn't run it on here, but it's fine. Import block is unsorted. Yeah, so we can just rough fixes these types of things. Some of that's a bit redundant. The help text for the site type option to provide their information in the CLI. Universal parser. This is cool. So we're taking our site away from being Migri focused and expanding our offering. The cool thing about having, I did start this dependency injection. This modular architecture though is that we can swap out. It's a pipeline, so we can swap out components, or we can make improvements to underlying components independent of the other segments. So we can work on our parser here without affecting the crawler or the vector storage layer or the Gradio app and all of that. And even the Gradio app can be swapped out for more customizable interface using like SvelteKit or something like that. But actually Gradio offers some very nice functionality to integrate Gradio apps into other existing apps. Gradio produces not only an interface, user interface, but an API and I think a language server protocol. There's several cool features that Gradio provides out of the box. So we can kind of use that as our core app and have a thin wrapper around that for like a SvelteKit app or something like that that would integrate more directly into our website. We have to I'm trying to think in the big picture here how this is going to work and how it'll look. We're in the prototype phase right now. We do need a website, which I'll probably make with Astro. It's fun. This feels like vocation for me. Like it's fun. It's important. I'm kind of good at it. You know, I can do it, and especially with GPT and Claude, the work gets a lot more easy and fun. But you have to stay on top of it and grok what it's doing, and that's challenging when I don't know these libraries very well. But we also write unit tests, which give us a little bit more assuredness that the code is working and hasn't regressed. So we will be visiting our parser unit tests, adding a new suite for the universal parser, maybe deprecating the Migri parser code and tests. It's so good. It's very good. Even has examples in here. I like this because I can think at a high level and kind of keep on track. What's the overall architecture? What's the overall project goals? Planning and even studying, like how do small agents work, or just getting ahead a little bit, a couple of steps ahead of the curve to towards where we're going, while the agent is actually writing the code for me. So it frees me up a bit, and then I can come and review the code as a peer reviewer to try to understand what it's done. And for example, I'm going to get it to write these tests. Wow, this is quite a request I gave it. We did the pre-planning step, which is important. Whether or not we're using agents, we should be kind of pre-planning, thinking of the architecture before we get into the actual code. List available configurations for the parser. So it's gone beyond the initial request, right? It thought of the utility classes for listing the sites. Yeah, this is really cool. I'm excited. We have our universal parser in progress, parser configs. And it's kind of pushing me now to look more specifically at the offerings from this is the kind of the employment services. I don't know what that would be called in other countries. And this is essentially the healthcare, Social Security in the United States. Social insurance institution. Oh, wait. Well, yeah, this one doesn't have that nice description. But I can do this. And see if Copa. Work and life. Work and retirement. Like, serve. Tuangmisto is like an organization or something. Nice. Let's try this if I... Work and economic development. Interesting. Tea is ready. I'll be right back. Okay, it continues to iterate. It's doing quite a lot of work here. And now it's going to try running this. Tests. It already did that. It did that without me asking explicitly. Some of this is in our Copilot instructions. And this is the really important part because these tests can run on a command line and we get warnings and errors. So we can check all of our assumptions. The assumptions are documented. The edge cases are documented in code. We're not using sort of a behavior-driven development framework. We're just using PyTest. But nonetheless, the tests typically are pretty granular, and the test cases are the function names, so they're kind of self-explanatory. Let's double check them. We have a class or tests, some preliminary setup. We'll make an temp directory. And give you an example. Getting some raw HTML in that. And then looking for a body fallback, basically, since this main doesn't have. Ooh, and this is important that the main is another semantic element we can use even if it doesn't have a class. So it might use that. Yeah. Just gonna look for class content or the main selector. Why is that squiggly? Line to line. Ah, yeah. Maybe 120 is alright. Yeah. So this is creating the configuration. I'm wondering if this should be done in the setup function or as actual file on disk. Anyway, that's okay. So now it's going to run the tests again. We have some warnings, but everything passed. Okay. All the tests are passing. Let's address the warnings. So it's already taking the initiative on that. Man, this is so good. Wow. In the time it took me to read one function, this is already writing dozens of tests and fixing them in code. This is amazing. It's gonna let's see. Now it's gonna run the command in the terminal pytest and check our coverage. This is great. We have significant coverage. The parsers, universal parsers, over 80%. List sites CLI. There it is, dash sites. There we go. The sites listed here with little emojis. Now we're going to test. Whoa! A lot of logging. So it's actually running the command. Whoops. Problems. There's some problems. Okay. It's a pretty big site. Man, this is great. $1,700 files. I'm wondering though, it's because we're also navigating to subdirectories. But essentially, we have multiple languages also. And they're organizing the content how they organize it. We can't help that. But it looks like they're mixing languages, or this is for asylum, probably for specific countries. I don't know all of this, to be honest. And what we should though have is an equivalent under parsed content, equivalent structure. I see. And we get just the raw markdown with the original page source, which reminds me of a bug I need to fix. A lot of the links are using relative, on the websites are using relative links in some cases. And those relative links, when we cite those sources, they resolve to our domain name, because they're relative to whatever the domain is that's rendering the content. Now, I don't know if this is good. Well, that's the index, so that's everything. So something like info fee would be better to look at. And then it would be kind of a big task, but important, that we have sort of a content specialist who can review these, a lot of content, to make sure things are parsing correctly, that we do have just what's essential. And we have these cookie pop-ups and stuff we probably don't need. All right, only on some sites. Yeah, web crawling is a whole thing, a whole discipline. So yeah, this is quite powerful. And I can rerun it. We can rerun each of these stages in the pipeline. So one idea is to clean up. These are just constants. We're in a branch. So we'll commit these. All right. Dang it. We'll do this cleanup, and then I'd like to converge the configuration. into the config module. And these can be like config constants or something like that. This is not a module yet. In fact, I think the parser configs, it could be just moved to YAML. The YAML file, yeah, use region, timeout. I just realized. On Twitch, I'm in the wrong category. Hopefully that's fixed now. Universal parser is more flexible and comprehensive implementation that replaces. So it's going to continue to iterate. Just double checking our README. This is weird. I don't know how this is used. It's just testing it. We're actually not using it. Ooh. Alright, so there's that. Maybe parser. Save this, default depth. I think it's actually duplicating. We have two things that are doing the same thing, so I can delete one. that's not being used. So now it's removing the old code. Settings probably needs to go in the crawler. We'll wait till this is done iterating. No, we need to fix those tests. Interesting. Yeah, we refactored that. Do its own module now. Right. Okay. Yeah, we'll clean this up. Okay, so let's see here. We mainly removed the Migri parser here, and then the config one. We'll add that. All right, now I believe these settings, I'm going to move them to the Migri assistant crawler. Should change a couple of files, and then I'll put these test settings in the crawler. I can delete the config tests. And we'll run. Crawler. Test settings. Let's do this real quick. Restore the file. I actually just wanted to move it. All right, so we got our Gradio app. We have test Gradio app. Let me just keep these changes. Okay. We've already committed them. So at the beginning of this session, I merged a pull request that was a work in progress from a week ago, and I had forgotten where I had left off, and also forgot to mark that. I think it was not in a draft state, so it kind of indicated it was ready for review, so I miscommunicated with myself. It was consolidating the logic around the large language model and a dedicated module, so the Gradio app can be more thin. And the RAG service. So I just wanted to open this one and provide it. Oh, I already did that. Okay, cool. Oh no, it's current file. Gradio app, test Gradio app, and then test RAG service. Your system models. Test RAG service pretty much exists, but let's double check. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, it wants to. Cat approach to replace the whole thing. I'm wondering why that's more efficient. Anyway. One thing we can think about that'd be kind of fun. Oh, well, actually, we're in good condition, but test-wise, the end goal is to sort of have this chat agent that's embedded in a website and not using the Gradio user interface. And we may or may not want streaming output. That's not necessarily a hard requirement. We would want at least to show some indicator that something's happening, yielding thoughts and results as they occur asynchronously. So the user experience is leaving a lot. It's open, but what I want to do is start thinking about how we would solve this and researching existing JavaScript component libraries or framework, particularly Svelte. Ideally, just framework agnostic libraries, TypeScript or JavaScript that are designed for these UI or chat UI and LLM user interfaces. So what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of meta prompting and have a research agent to help us here. So let's go to Claude real quick. So now it's I'm using the same. Let's describe this. Man. Okay, so there was some duplication there. see. So I'm just asking for a prompt that I can send to Gemini to get prior art, existing libraries, to solve this pattern. RAG pipeline. We have a Gradio app at the back end. We want to integrate this securely into the website, probably Astro.js. Need guidance on JavaScript, TypeScript libraries or component frameworks, building the user interface. Want a compositional approach. Want to implement streaming chatbot thoughts or responses. They're looking for pre-existing architectural examples for streaming. So it's going to generate a prompt. And what we can do is hop over to Gemini. And I'll be right back. All right, so we've got Gemini 2.5 Pro here with deep research capabilities. They've got several models. 2.5 Pro preview with reasoning, math, and code, and then 2.5 Pro with the deep research. So here we go. And I'm just going to take this prompt that gives all the context. And this is the desired architecture. So I wanted to be specific about that. Maybe it's too specific. But the streaming responses, I think, is a good user experience. And it's even going to look for some examples. Compositional design patterns, not React. Not going to use React. Ideally, we can get past this framework orientation. I'd prefer to use Svelte or Vue. Just I like the way the code is organized in those, and it's not also pulling you into Vercel, the whole Vercel ecosystem. Yeah. And let me check this Chatbot UI kit. If it's React, I'm going to take it off the list. Shad CDN could be good. Because I believe these components are framework agnostic. Shad CDN is React oriented, isn't it? Component library. Favorite frameworks: open source, open code. Okay, good. All right. Let's roll. So that's my request. It's going to formulate a plan. And we'll check back over on there. Okay, there's the plan actually. Modern maintainable chat UI component libraries compatible with Svelte, Vue, TypeScript, or framework agnostic, featuring compositional design pattern support for streaming responses, thinking state, or typing indicators, markdown. And a lot of this is just kind of generic things. The technical approaches and comprehensive full stack tutorials. Wow, it's quite a big prompt. So let's roll with it and hop back over to the code here. Okay, so now it's said, looking in the test CLI. So this is strange. It's like Claude is getting a bit overwhelmed by the length of this conversation. And it's reverting to sed and cat commands instead of using VS Code buffer. I think that's just a sign, my brief intuitive experience of going too long, not starting a new chat, clearing the context. So we'll check on the status. Found a bunch of websites, 40 websites and videos. This is really cool. These research agents can save a lot of time, and they link to all of the sources they find. Next.js, I do not want to use next. Initial web searches, 40 websites. Articles on authentication for both frameworks. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. RAG with streaming capabilities. How to set up API proxies with Astro.js. Good. Search for chat UI component libraries yielded some interesting options, particularly for Svelte and React. Could be useful with Astro.js. So now it's up to 80 websites. Wow. It's looking through some UX design research. Deep chat. I've not heard much of this stuff. This is really powerful. Reactivity fundamentals, so basic stuff, but also very specific. Hugging Face and Gradio Lite may be a good component library. Okay, wow. Okay, so yeah, there we go. MyPy. Duplicate module and test settings. Okay. I don't understand this. Test crawler, test settings. Test config. There's no more. Mm. 30 errors. So these will be good to fix it, to review and fix later. Okay, tests are passing without this settings file, so I don't know. I'm going to delete that. We'll commit these changes. I'll add MyPy just because it's useful. But I don't know if it's wise to run these type checks in this current branch. We'll create a pull request. Here it is. It's going to run the tests in CI. About 1,000 lines of code. 144 websites. We're still searching. This is really cool. Get streamed out. Astro Chat Islands. Chat Astro Islands. Wow. Building a chat app. Whoa. Cool. Using the Stream API in SvelteKit Stream. Oh, yeah, of course. Well, whatever. What is Stream? APIs and SDKs to build in app chat, video, and feeds. But I just don't want to get locked into these types of pricing. Okay, so they're returning. So this is just rendering the component. Input component container. I just don't like this JSX approach to writing. Kind of HTML. All right. Make you think about JavaScript. Okay, you need your JavaScript to your chat window, but do you need it for the headers and images around it? With Astro and Islands, you ship only the JavaScript needed, nothing more. Stream Chat example demonstrates that Astro empowers developers to use their favorite frameworks while ensuring efficient resource utilization. Just-in-time hydration. Wow, that's cool sounding. All right, we have something good happening. Coverage. Settings. Okay. Test crawler test runtime. Test run basic. It's so opaque. Let's give it that context and let's check our research agent. $158. LangChain, Auth.js, wow, lots of stuff. We may need authentication in a while. Wow. Penia, like state management, this is a bit excessive. I probably asked for too big of a thing. Interesting. It's chunking it at the time they're asking to retrieve it. Wow. All right. So there was a slight example of guiding the LLM. It was preserving backwards compatibility by creating the setting file that I had moved. I thought my in the VS Code, when I moved the file, did update the imports in other parts of the app, but I believe since those import path was mocked in a test, VS Code was unaware of that. I'm kind of unaware of that. And so the solution from the LLM standpoint was just to create that file again and import this details from the new location rather than fixing the tests. So I think this is a better approach here. Now our tests are running and passing, which is why we have CI. Good to go. This is why you need basically unit test, all these coding assistance tools, not just large language models, but MyPy, all this kind of stuff as a general practice, but also increasingly with large language models. And that they are essentially co-pilots. They're very, I would say, skilled or knowledgeable in however you can apply those sort of adjectives to predictive agents, but still needs some kind of guidance and experience from the practitioner. Wow, we got 200 websites. This is crazy. Smithsonian or Smashing Magazine. I was like Smithsonian. Neo4j. Oh my gosh, I don't know what, but this is going to be hopefully a really comprehensive report. I'm gonna have to eat lunch soon. I think this is a good pull request. we can merge this and take a little bit of more time. Now that we have MyPy, open a new branch that resolves these MyPy warnings. Add a pre-commit hook that'll run MyPy. Possibly, yeah, some other commands like rough commands before committing and pushing. These are just low-level lints and code quality checks that should just be part. All checks have passed. Really great. So I'll just ping. No, I'm not gonna ping anybody. Just developing a solo developer style. You can ask Copilot and edit the comment with Copilot. Get a summary. Quite a big summary. Okay, the universal parser does inherit from the base parser, and I believe the base parser instantiates. Yeah, it does that, so that's good. Where's that pull request? I'll get a more advanced AI peer review set up on this repository. Forget the name of it. There's a couple of options out there. They had actually some pretty good results, mixed results, but sometimes actually on point and pointing out stuff that I was oblivious to. Potential bugs, code smells, and non-trivial stuff that like a linter can't really catch. So I think that's a good, especially as a solo developer, to have some additional tooling in there. Let's merge this. We'll come back over here, pull the main branch, refresh. Should have said closes. It closed it. The issue closes. Number 20. That's that, and then I actually just need to manually close that. That way our pull request is linked to the issue, and it would automatically have closed it in that case upon merging. All right, these are good, and that's merged. Okay, Gemini's still working for us. Very cool. Authentication and proxying. We may or may not need to worry about authentication if it's just a proxy, a secure proxy. And I've like whitelisted or allow listed the I'll have to think about how it works. Yeah, authentication is probably easier. Or you can have like a secure subnet or something like that. I don't want to be too complicated. Keeping things simple. Okay, so now we're going to add up pre-commits. So UV add pre-commit dev. Did we get it? So there already. I hop between projects a lot and forget where we are. I should have just looked. Let's add a MyPy step. Not sure why. MyPy is going to complain. Mirrors MyPy. Oh, okay, I think this was legit still active. Exclude tests. Do we want to exclude the tests? In some ways we do, but imports can break in the tests, which we just saw. It was sort of a... There's like a mirrors MyPy. What are we at? 128 tags. 1.15. Maybe the exact version got yanked. So we need to... Okay. And let's give it our pipe project. This is good. I love code quality stuff, like improving maintainability, automating lints, and checking just things that support our work for having a high level of quality. Unit testing, this kind of stuff gives me good confidence in the code. And the output, since it's just text and CLI, it goes right into our large language models. Now, I wonder if these are hallucinations. And I would like it to add the inspect the output. Run the command and inspect the output. That's what I was thinking, that all these wouldn't necessarily have it. It's part of the problem in the Python ecosystem is not everything is type-hinted. Okay, no problem. OECASD. Yeah, I didn't think that would be either. Things like PyDantic, yeah, PyYAML, LXML, probably, yeah. These are a little more niche. And I might be able to remove them from the project at some point. I'm not super strict. Python ecosystem is moving towards improving this. Yeah, but the library maintainers currently have to do quite a lot to add these type stubs, and they might not be in support of type annotations, or there's parts that you can't just annotate. Here's where we are. Now we're getting to it. These are mainly the CLIs, so there are probably a lot of trivial ones, but there's 66 errors. Okay, more than last time. So let's keep add type stubs for the libraries that MyPy can't find, such as PyTest, Scrapey, LangChain, Gradio, Olama, Twisted, HTML2Text. Okay. So first, let's try to add as many of these stubs as possible. Wow. So it's going to just kind of suppress them. And then we can incrementally improve it. I'll be right back. All right, working on it. Wants to run it again. Ooh, ouch. Hey, but this is actually meaningful. Now the pre-commit hooks are running successfully, though MyPy is still finding type errors in a codebase. This is a much more manageable list of errors compared to the earlier one. So we've configured MyPy to be more lenient with the ignore missing imports and allow untyped defs options. And these are all temporary, and it shows me how to manage and define this list of additional dependencies and arguments. 8 errors. Okay, it's time to fix the errors. Oh no, it's just working on the strictness. We're down to just 8 errors from the initial 66. That's good. Create a final version of MyPy configuration that balances finding important type issues while not being too strict for our code base. It's in the process of adding type annotations. Yeah. Wow, they all passed. Now we can kind of prioritize these and figure out which, order to remove these. All right, we got pre-commit checks in place. Now let's go through. Top to bottom is my instinct, but I'm wondering actually if we should set up a MyPy initialization, if that's convention, and if so, can this MyPy hook use MyPy INI? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Element XML stubs. We can do that. Nice. We actually should do this in the project, not just the environment for pre-commit MyPy. Interestingly, think about that. 28. So I did pick a big one. Whoops. All right, there we go. Yeah, so it's now adding that to the project. Great. We need to upgrade Beautiful Soup. Are we using Beautiful Soup? That doesn't exist. Ah, boy. All right. Ah, there goes MyPy INI. We'll come back to it once Copilot's done working. Let's see what's going on. Now, what I'm a bit worried about is that our pre-commit arguments will get out of sync with this I see. Hang on, I'm gonna read that close enough. Because we're in the middle of that. Yeah, alright. We'll come in later. A rough can fix. Huh, wow, we're actually adding stubs of our own. Interesting. Cool. Let's check our research assistant. This is really good though. Gemini RagChat interface architecture. Interesting. Building a secure and performant RagChat interface with AstroJS and Gradio. Wow, it's very specific. This report provides a comprehensive analysis and detailed guidance for developing a retrieval augmented generation chat interface for website content. It focuses on integrating a Gradio-powered Python backend with an AstroJS frontend, emphasizing secure architecture, real-time streaming capabilities, modern chat UI component libraries, and critical performance and user experience considerations. Wow. And it's really comprehensive and it has code and examples, comparison tables, man, and all the sources. Okay, so I'm not going to read this all online here, but I just want to check real quick. Good. Radix view, headless. Whoa. MyPy running again. Sync Fusion, I'm going to stay away from them. SvelteKit, ChatGPT Svelte, View Advanced Chat, Svelte Headless, very high compositional design, streaming support by external logic. Because keep in mind we don't need SvelteKit. We're going to be using Astro for the website framework. But Svelte or Vue would be good libraries. So what we can... Deep chat, framework agnostic. Compositional design, string response, thinking states, markdown rendering, syntax highlighting, message threading. Deep chat, web component. Official website, deep chat, built to power AI services for tomorrow. Nice. And then we just can connect to these different providers and integrates. It's framework agnostic, which is what I asked. This is great. This is what I like to see more of, even vanilla JS. I love it. we can figure this part out. I could even just connect it directly to sort of Gradio. I think, what's Gradio using to serve? I don't know if it's using, I don't think Flask. Alright, cool. But what do we have? Start. Examples. ChatGPT. View code. Hey, how are you? Bard. So these are kind of now Gemini. Interesting. So the docs are a bit out of date. Dark mode is nice. What's the... they just need to update the docs. Focus mode. AI, OpenAI, real-time, and more. Latest message exchanges and only provides a modern... Speech to speech. Yeah, they did it. Our friend Victor was thinking, why do you have to think about text to speech and speech to text? Why not abstract it? Well, it's done. Very cool. Wow. So this is looking pretty promising. I'm just going to check the insights. So a single developer, big time. It's been around for a minute, but it's just like one person, so that's a bit of a risk, but it's open source. MIT licensed and doing some pretty big things. This is what I'm talking about. I don't want to become an expert at this, all this kind of craziness. Okay, so by design, they're trying. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Different aesthetics, docs. Custom chat component can interact with the remote services. No easy feat. This is a challenge that we took on with full force, and ultimately realizing a web component capable of connecting to any API with minimal amount of effort required. Very cool. I think this is a very promising result. Thank you, Gemini, for this report. We'll continue reviewing the report, but let's double check on our code. I need to eat lunch soon. It's that time. I asked it for a big one. I didn't realize how many of those. I should have run it myself and then thought a little harder. Yeah, type ignoring is cool. You know, we're using twisted here. I would prefer to use no QA and with a specific thing that it's ignoring. Let's just add that to the Copilot instructions. The raise is an important one. Five errors. We're getting there. So this is what I'm talking about. We want to know what we're ignoring. Return value. If we are going to do a type ignore. Where we did just a generic type ignore here. I don't know why we're ignoring that, but I think it's like no undefined or something. Or where it doesn't have type stubs, essentially, in that case. So now our conversation has gotten too long. Okay. Perhaps there's too many. Another thing could be there's too many files open, too many buffers open. And it's not able to. Should we deal with that many? I don't know. Shit. this is partially because I've added MyPy so late in the project and we didn't fix these incrementally, so it's much harder right now. Yeah, what is the reactor? So yeah, let's see. I'll help you migrate the MyPy configuration from the pre-commit hook to your project's MyPy NI for consistency. We'll keep the changes, and if I run it, I should basically see 3 errors. So it's just too dynamic. Because it doesn't know what kind of reactor it's going to be. So MyPy can't really check if reactor has running or run. So yeah, current file, and I can close this and close that. Down to 2 though. I think this is just dynamic code that's twisted is used by Gradio. That's right, because it needs more asynchronous event loop and responding based on delayed output from the large language model servers, APIs, and such. MyPy can't see the reactor object as running and run attributes. Errors occurring where the reactor is being used in the code. There's no stub for twisting the substructure. Coding standards, it's better to use specific error codes than type ignore. So that's good. Type ignore attribute defined. Very cool. So we can already see that taking effect. The Copilot instructions. And these are sort of like not necessarily low level, but medium level details that come up in code reviews, you know, when we're reviewing each other's code. Human code's like, hey, let's not use a generic type ignore, let's use this attribute define, reminding people of that. And you can document it in code conventions, but people don't always read and memorize those. It's a lot easier, I think, for the large language model to integrate those suggestions. It's not flawless either. No issues found. Success. Very cool. Very good. So good. I think the default is just false. Oops. All right, maybe it'll fix those. Use none. A lot of it's just none. Nice. So now we have a few tabs and a shorter conversation. It's able to iterate directly in the buffer. So we can just see this nice diff view. Also, the third thing is that could have too many diffs open at once. That might have been the case. Something about having too much going on makes the Copilot resort to using command line things to interact with the buffer. The code, that is, not necessarily these open buffers. I'm getting hungry though, I need to eat lunch. Nice. So it usually lists the primitive. There's so many of these. Again, this is something that should be introduced to a project pretty early, so it's easier rather than trying to add it later in one fell swoop. I can see why mature projects, long-term projects that didn't introduce type annotations have such a hard time adopting them. But you can do the incremental approach with MyPy INI. Just do it. It's good. It's good practice. It helps you. It's like a safety net. It shows you what's going on and makes sure you're using the right, expectations, the right expectations when you're writing the code. Reduces cognitive load. I don't have to think, should URL be a string? Maybe intuitively, but I don't even have to think about that. I don't have to use, 2 brain cells to think about it. It'll just tell me it's a string. Believe me, my 2 brain cells, I need to conserve their energy. Let's read a little bit more from Gemini. So yeah, this relevance, deep chat, high, limitations, web component, nice. It feels less native, but it's a web component. That's kind of a bad perspective. I think they're just native, in fact, native to the web. I don't necessarily need message grouping. Shad CDN, React base. No, thank you. We're doing good. Just running it again. 15 errors before. Let's see what it got down to this time. Svelte library. ChatGPT SvelteKit based ChatGPT clone. It demonstrates markdown, persistent chat history, local storage, auto scrolling message. It could be that we don't use necessarily Astro for this component, for the chat component. 7 months ago, we just, or at least get to know the architecture of how you make a multi-threaded conversational agent. And, we would just swap out the backend to use Gradio or whatever. Interesting. Routes. API chat server. So it's essentially async. Whoops. And then it sort of virtual assistant, Huntabyte, very specific. Or creates a request, gets a response, and then it returns it. So it's not yielding. I don't know if this has streaming output. This is a very full-fledged application. Cell component for comment sections. And then we can build our own based on these other libraries. Still working on it. 34 issues. I shouldn't have uncommented that. Vue.js library, Syncfusion, no. Tencent Cloud, Kit UI, Chat SDK. Now it's resorting to what? Okay. It's a bit challenging. Chat UI Kit. don't think so. It feels a bit hooked into their stuff. Headless primitives. So yeah, it looks like we got one main contender. Because it's not just about the UI components, it's about architecture. Alright, some of these I can change, like return none type stuff. Alright, so cool. There we go. Got a little bit better there. Not bad. These have side effects only. But you can see this is a bit tedious. So it's nice to have an agent do that kind of work. Okay, this one has it. Okay, let's run it again. We should have fewer. Missing a return. Really? Davy Deer. Okay. I don't like shorthand. What if I do this? Or by 80. Okay. $23 last time. 20. Arguments. Module has no attribute. Running, call from thread, or stop. Both of these. Arguments. So our whole base parser just needs them. There are a few annotations here, that's nice. I think this is one of the most important rules to enable, that these function signatures and the return annotation exists. It's difficult. $15, so that's not so bad. It's a bit dangerous, so what I'm going to do is try to commit these, but I'll have to ignore the pre-commit because pre-commit's going to fail. Just double check, but I'll have to say no verify. Can't remember exactly. So we'll at least commit that. So if something happens, we'll be able to take a step forward and try it again. Let's close all these tabs out. We're so close. I'm going to take a lunch very soon so I can head out. But come on, Claude, pull us across the finish line. I'll be right back. Okay, so Copilot's running the command. It's going to get the output. And this will be the last kind of rule we will enable in this branch. We've got the pre-commit checks up and running. That was already a big step. But we did need to ignore a bunch of errors. These are important errors again to fix. Not because they're necessarily pointing to something that's broken, but that it's not able to help us when we're developing, including the large language model when it's using these APIs. Okay. Nice. And a lot of these are just fairly straightforward annotations, but we just want to be comprehensive. String or path, interesting. Because it's handling path objects there. Nice. So we had the 15 errors. And see, now it's able to read the file directly in the buffer and sort of actually not even in the buffer now that I look at it. Sort of it's using an internal API, VS Code, to inspect the file directly instead of using cat or something in the command line tools, the Unix command line. Okay, so we need to add the import. There it goes. This is exciting, though. We're really making progress. And I think we're taking a look at a couple of future potential steps. And I'll read through this documentation more thoroughly, but there may even be some LangChain UI components. Okay, 15 errors. $13 errors, man. It looked like it made a lot of changes. What the heck? Are these not somehow applied in a way that is visible, or what's going on? When running the command line tool, do they need to be? Do I need to keep those changes? It seems like this diff view is showing me the difference with a file that's saved on disk. Quite a lot. Any. Self-type. I don't know if we need to use self-type here. Nice. Ah, okay, it uncovered, so the type annotations it added were incorrect in some cases. This is hopefully just focusing on the missing type annotations. This is interesting. Context usually refers to a dictionary for data for like a template to be rendered. I think that's why the annotation was incorrect here, whereas our context is just coming in as a string that gets sort of interpolated into a prompt template. Running again. 3 errors. Nice. These are the non-trivial ones as well. Now the solution here is to fix the type annotation. I see. So actually the implementation could be better. Instead of using just these kind of quarks to catch everything, we might actually want to give them actual keyword arguments. Interesting. Because the prompt here I'll look more into that. We have one error though. Shoot. This is what I was afraid of. Ah, man, this is a challenging one. But all the errors now are in the crawler, so we're looking good. Let me just run the pre-commit on these. It'll lint a little bit, and then we'll do the no verify. All right then. So it's just the crawler. The last holdout. Just 9 left. If we can use an off-the-shelf thing, that could be good too. But this is a bit much. But it could be a good architecture to study. Okay, we're going from 9 errors. Hello, Slayer. Welcome to the chat. Not sure what that means. Cool. We have some annotations coming in. Object is a fairly generic base class. Ah, Instagram brain rot. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Instagram and TikTok lead to pretty extensive brain rot. Just keep us kind of scrolling in that cycle. I'm a bit annoyed by YouTube shorts as well. It would be nice to have a little bit more specific of an annotation for the crawler than an object. I believe the crawler should be a crawler. So I'm not sure why. We can fix that though. How are you doing today, aside from recovering from Instagram? Working on a large language model chat. Ever go on TikTok? Ever? Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think these bubbles of negativity that we can get swept away into, they're a bit concerning. So yeah, I've been trying to just keep my energy focused on like creativity and even avoid in-person discussions that tend towards conflict and contradiction. Yeah, so just chilling, work on some code on a code project to help people who are walking a similar path to one I've been on. Open source on Linux. What's Linux? Yeah, of course, yeah. I used to use Linux pretty religiously, you could say. Yeah, I was a kind of a very strong adherent to the like free software mentality, and went through a shift that I started to basically to value more like just productivity and getting things done, than being a purist. I used to be sort of an evangelist. I would at least help people. I wouldn't go around condemning them for choosing Windows or Mac or anything like that. But I would help when people had a question about how can I open this document file? You know, like it's in some strange format, or I need to edit pictures, but I can't afford Photoshop. Then I'll be like, well, there are some things you can use that are available, like LibreOffice to open these, you know, obscure document formats and stuff like that. And I maintained a couple of open source computer labs so people in the community could swing into these like nonprofit organizations and use a computer for free. And typically those were like old computers that couldn't really run modern, or I don't know specifically modern, but like heavy operating systems like Windows, or they weren't Macs, so you couldn't run OS X, for example. And yeah, we would throw Linux on these and people would just come and chill and check their email and surf the web, you know, everything else. So more like practicing what I preach and like helping people succeed in their goals. And so that's what I'm actually focusing on now here. I'm just building an open source tool, but it's not like overtly open source. It's just helping people succeed in their path of like immigration. Yeah, they're all tools. Yeah, as long as you get, you know, your goals are met, your work is done. And sometimes, yeah, Linux can feel very painful, huh? Like confusing, having to edit configuration files, get down to the command line. Although the Arch, yeah, is one of the more painful ones to use. You have to be kind of a power user. I've been an Ubuntu fan, and that honestly is, I think, changed the Linux user experience pretty greatly. I know it's not perfect, and I've also tried Debian and Gentoo and several other distributions. I think SUSE, what else? OpenSUSE, I guess. For a while I was using, what was it called? Linux Mint. You know, so there's interesting options out there. It's kind of cool. I like the choice. And then, you know, you get then above that layer, you do like, you know, what's your windowing system preference? Yeah, Debian is really notorious for like slow rollouts of even just bug fixes. You know, they have this slow stability and security policy of like how they'll package new releases. One error left. So I stopped using Debian a while back. Yeah, there was a couple of really purist Linux distributions based on Debian, like endorsed by the GNU. Free Software Foundation. I can't remember what they were called. GNOME on Arch, most polished. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not very configurable, I heard. So it's like if you're fine, it's like OS X basically. If you're fine with how it works and a little bit of configurability, then you're good to go. I've been a KDE user. I think they've done a really good work with usability and configurability. But yeah, it's not like anything to argue about. I think it would be just nice if the KDE and GNOME could share more sort of, I don't know, patterns or practices. I know they're different. Like KDE is based on the Qt framework, and GNOME is built on, they build their own framework. What's that called? What's their which component framework called? Yeah, so it's nice, and it's nice to have a very polished and usable thing out of the box, so we don't actually have to worry about it, I think, is the main thing. So we can get on with our work and just get stuff done. GTK, I guess that's the one, isn't it? GTK. Lack of hardware support in video cards. Yeah, man, that hasn't changed in ages. We've been having troubles with these graphics drivers. It's annoying, isn't it? Oh wow, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it.
SlayerXiffle just
nice
followed.
Chat with a fellow Linux user. Okay, so here we've actually saturated our window. So we'll keep these changes. I just need to fix these last two. Maybe if I just... Okay, I see what's happening. It keeps doing this. It's made the same mistake several times. I'm not kind of staying on it, but this is already a really big improvement. Let me just double check that we run. And I need to eat lunch soon. Oh yeah. This is just like this is just a typing or attribute defined one, isn't it? Nice, we were so close, and then it did some weirdness. Alright, so now we're in the terminal. We're going to run our tests. Wish you can get a Mac in college. Yeah, that's basically what happened with me. I just kind of switched over to using Mac, and I started focusing much more on like getting things done, I guess, making stuff. In particular, I wanted to make music for a long time on Linux and using open source software like Ardour and Audacity and things. I did have some good success with VCV Rack, which is open source, but overall, there's a huge ecosystem of like VST plugins and stuff that only runs in Windows and Mac, and that's just the way. It's just the reality. So it's like gaming. If you want to be a gamer, you're pretty much going to have to run a Windows machine. But I switched to Mac and was able to continue doing open source development because these tools like VS Code, Python language stuff just runs on pretty much any operating system. Windows has some weird problems, but now I'm also able to do music, and just had to let go of some of the hope of doing it with open source software only. But it looks like we're good to go. We've added these annotations. Windows is weird, yeah. And Windows is basically spyware. I really don't like Windows. Bloatware spyware. Bakes to oblivion. Yeah, Mac is pretty stable. It had, problems too, for sure. Hackintosh. Yeah, I've never tried that. That might be kind of cool. But hey, look at this. We made progress. Got to the goal. I can open this pull request. Our tests are passing. I can run pre-commit on everything. And I think we should be green. Huh, really good. Let's go ahead and publish this branch. Open a pull request. I really need to eat lunch because I'm going to have to run to an event. Create this pull request. But if you want to check it out, Slayer, you're welcome to dive into the code. It's open source on GitHub. We're using some agentic technology to help people immigrate to Finland specifically and navigate all of the complexities and scattered information that's involved in that process, and have a conversational agent who sort of signpost you and get you pointed in the right directions, not replacing any of these official sources or existing organizations who are doing great work, but kind of making the experience a little bit more cohesive and personalized using large language models. Yeah, like Olama, stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. A project, an opportunity. Let's just use, and yeah, I'm getting my reminder going off on my phone that it's time to start preparing for this event 1 hour from now. Wow. Yeah, so this is pretty good. Description. So yes. That's a bit of a concern. And I have had this environmental difference. Yeah, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Where the tests will run local. Pass local. So it looks like just the PyProj conf. And we shouldn't really need to be using setup tools. This is kind of weird. I don't remember why that happened. Man. Yeah, all we really did is just adding dependencies. That's kind of weird, man. What the heck? Or was it when I was parsing this file? Dang it. Maybe 312 will give us a little bit better of an error. Yeah, and this could just be our CI needs improvement. Okay, so it's setup tools, deprecation warning, project licenses, TOML is deprecated. Please use a simple string. So it could be just as simple as making that a string. All right, so let's check it out. PyProj TOML can't read even right now. Yeah, there's license MIT. Isn't that it? What's the SpeedX? One error on line 147 that haunts you every day during your sleep. Yeah, I can't sleep. I'm waking up in cold sweats. SPDX MIT. Short identifier. MIT. I think that should do it. And future me is going to have to look at, do we need to improve our CI pipeline? Yeah. Let's try this. Yeah, because there's nothing in here that's specific, so it's just something in our profile. Even then, I mean, it's just checking it out, setting up with UV, installing dependencies. That's such a weird failure. I don't understand it. Let's go back, see if it passes this time. I don't like leaving off with the red X. And it's funny that it failed the CI on a deprecation warning. Or, oh, multiple top level dependencies found. Oh, yeah. That's actually the problem. So the warning isn't the problem. This is the problem. All right. Okay, let's see what we can get here. We did introduce this stubs. I think that stubs should go here. I'm not used to this, defining my own stubs, so I'm not sure exactly how it should work, but I can see that it freaked out. Our build tool. We're not using setup pi, so that's just the confusing part. Yeah. And I don't want to introduce setup tools. I just don't want to do that. Alternatively, we could avoid defining stubs for our front matter library. Because this is why I don't want to install the whole project in editable mode. I don't like this workflow. Because then it creates this egg crap. Yeah, we need to add the init pi. Okay, of course. Yeah. I'm gonna have to eat lunch on stream here. Not able to pull away from this issue, from this project today. How far are we in? 3 hours. 3.5 hours. Wow. Yeah. Trapped with no escape. Trapped under the ice. We'll have to break free. I see some light. This is the only change I kind of disagree with. Everything else seems legit. If it gets my CI to pass, though, I can fight setup tools later. Okay, adding MyPy to the CI workflow could be useful. Yeah, that's actually correct. Nice. What are you studying at the university, Slayer? Ah, yeah, and the stubs usage should go in our contributing guide. Sort of a destroyed our readme. Oh my god. Okay, and then mine created stubs. Readme stubs. Alright, gotcha. All these changes look fine. Let me just try it. Looks like so. Looks like we can do that. Computer science and software engineering, maths and biology. UK college is a bit different. Ah, okay. I didn't know the distinction between those. Interesting. And this set of tools.
Hydrate. Just redeemed hydrate.
All right then. That's true. Let me do that real quick. Gotta get my water bottle. Nice. Thanks for the reminder. Definitely forget to do that. Okay, cool. So our UV lock now didn't need the change about editable. We did add our types and MyPy. I think so. I think we're good. Hopefully the CI will run. I'm gonna make a sandwich, I guess, and just eat that because I gotta go soon. Push the changes. Watch the CI. I'll be right back. I'll leave this screen up here so we can watch the yellow circle. All right, just checked. I got tuna salad. for me. Oh, it's so slow. It's running it in 3 versions of Python. That's probably excessive. Yeah. Little improvements at a time. Nope. But I suppose it's a good sign that it's not failing at the previous error. So we resolved that. And the warning. Okay, we got 1 test passing. Okay, so, but yeah, computer science, software engineering, maths, and biology. That's quite a workload, it sounds like. What are you going to use computer science and software engineering for relating to those biology and maths topics? Look at this. Look at that. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? We have a green check. I can rest. An iron wall. That doesn't sound good, right? Yeah. You took too much. Too much. Yes, a green tick. I will leave this as it is. I'm not going to merge that right away. I need to go eat lunch and prepare to go out onto town. Downtown. Where all the people are. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, Slayer. It's been nice to meet you. Finally rest. Yeah. Peace of mind, hopefully. So yeah, it's been another live code hangout where we've been working on our Migri assistant. Migri is the Finnish migration authority, and it's the first stop for immigrants coming here to Finland, the gateway, and you need to work not only with Migri but other organizations to gather the requirements and applications and everything else in order to get the green light to migrate here, to grab your residence permit for student or work visa or family ties or refugee status, all these things. Migri is kind of the gateway. So we're thinking that if we can make that process a little easier, give people a personal assistant, that could be very impactful, very meaningful. It's a little step at a time. And this is just about a quality of life software engineering approach that we want to have. Type annotations in the project, so it's kind of a software engineering best practice. Thanks for your time. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you around again. Nice to meet you, Slayer.